Live streaming is on.
All right. Yeah, so well, I'm not going to go over the protocol every time. I'm returning today, and Alex is taking meeting notes. But yeah, let's go over some issues again in the well, now it's called Simple Package Paths repository. We just did the rename last time. I'm gonna share my screen here so we can take a look together. Yeah, this is a bit smaller. So last time, Robert, you weren't here, but we did the discussion with. We had a big discussion about how to shard the packages, and so from that I created this PR and along with some other updates. And then we had this discussion in here, where let me scroll down here. So yeah, you made the valid suggestion, why not just substring? And then Alex gave some arguments, and yeah, I explained then how we came to that. And so initially we were like, let's use multiple subdirectories, and then it might make sense to have some replacement character. But if we don't have these multiple nestings, then honestly, it doesn't make a lot of sense to have these. And I mean, it is nice that you have all the same length, but it's kind of more, it's kind of harder to recognize this pattern, I feel like. And yeah, I also I wrote some code to evaluate how many packages in Nixpkgs have how many letters, or like a cumulative not probability, like a distribution of packages. And yeah, like 11% are at most 4 characters, and so like 90% have more than 4 characters. So that's really the most of them. And so I think with that, and Sandro also mentions that dashes are kind of ugly. We could just trim to the minimal length. Yeah, and so I think that sounds good to me. So I'm gonna, or anybody have any arguments? Otherwise, I think let's just go for that. I think that sounds good. All right. Other things, is there something in here that we need to take a look at? Oh yeah, the compatibility layer thing. So in here, well, we've had this for a while now. I also expanded this PR to it's not right here. So yeah, I expanded it with this, which is nice. You can like, oh, for one, we can have symlinks somewhere in here. Symlink from the, some kid is screaming in my background. Hope you can't hear that. But yeah, symlink, and or we can use the next kind of import statement to do this as well, and then this can give a warning, which is nice because symlinks can't give a warning. But then along with that comes some complexity, and I think it would be good to just reach a decision on this. Do we want these compatibility symlinks and default on Nix files, or just not bother with it? Because the file system isn't supposed to be an API. People shouldn't have to rely on this.
I would support just not bothering unless someone feels really strongly. Otherwise, we just risk creating like expectations that, oh, everything's sort of public after all, and I think that's not what we want.
Just I talked with Ilka just this weekend, and he made this argument that if people can use it, they will use it as a public interface. So whatever people have access to kind of becomes the public interface. But
I mean, yeah, we do use it. not for packages, but yes for modules. And it even feels a slight bit encouraged via packages.path. That makes it really easy to get at the exact file system directory of the packages you're using. But also,
that's true.
it does feel like poking around inside the implementation details, and we do so kind of expecting breakage, I would think.
Yeah, that is true. So I think for Nexus modules, currently it is kind of expected that the names are the public interface. And I think if we were to do the same thing for Nexus modules, we'd have to provide these symlinks. But since this is only for packages, I think that isn't a problem. But yeah, there's a small argument that we have packages.path, which kind of gives an API entry point to the tree.
Yeah, and there's for modules, there's an even stronger argument. There is the disabled modules option, which you have to give file system paths. I'm not sure if something similar exists for packages, where it does make you use the file system path. I'm not aware of anything.
I don't think so. But also, I'm
whole package, but you get the same effect with the .override, and I think most people use that. I don't think it's been documented in like examples, tutorials, whatever, to do this kind of thing. It's more of an NixOS thing, not so much Nix packages.
Yeah, and I'm also just reminded that packages.path becomes inaccurate as soon as you have an overlay or anything. Like you can't packages.path, like if you import packages.path, it is in general not equals to packages. And so it's kind of, it probably shouldn't even be part of the API, I'd argue. Yeah, but so I feel like
this is really similar to that weird question I asked you yesterday, where I was asking about how can you record in a way that's not like an absolute path to like derivations or file. Yeah, this is just like, this is very, very similar to the thing I was trying to sort out. It's not a fun question.
Maybe, yeah. I think that goes maybe too far off the rails, but yes. But so okay, I think this is good. Like, do we agree that by not putting these compatibility symlinks, it might break stuff, but we kind of enforce the precedent that it's not a public API interface. That if you depended on those, well, leave us an issue. We can maybe help you with that, but it kind of tells people don't do that in the future. Like use packages.whatever to access stuff. Does it sound good? Do we have Alex?
Yeah. So
agree with that?
So now there's going to be like for a package set, it's going to carry an attribute path that you would use to refer to, I guess, like a base directory to refer to relatives. Like if I'm making.
How do you mean that? Like what kind of use case?
Well, I guess you were pointing out like packages.path, and I guess I'm maybe looking for clarity on exactly what that is.
Packages.path just kind of, well, if you have some next packages path and you do packages equals import the path.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what is this?
Oh.
Then packages.path is just equals to next packages. Like it just kind of sets the path that it was imported as under path.
Oh, okay, got it. And so I guess is the use case there that if I need to refer to a subdirectory of Nix packages, I would use the .path.
Well, you can't really in general.
Okay.
There is no way to access the directory of the package, which I think is probably a good thing, right? I mean, the path shouldn't be the
right.
API,
Yeah.
right?
I agree. I was just I guess trying to understand how that was connected to everything else.
What about meta.position? Isn't this kind of that?
Yeah, I was thinking that at first, but the more that I've fooled around with that, the more I realized kind of how, like, I think that's a good debugging tool, but it's very temperamental, I would say.
So, I mean, I'm just writing this down here. There's packages.path, probably an anti-pattern. Doesn't work. It doesn't work as expected with overlays. And
Yep, that's
config.
exactly the problem.
Yeah, but then, right, there's also meta.position. But I'd say this is more for like debugging, and it's not something for the next language to use. It's something for the tooling to use and the error reporting. Right, and then just to complete this modules path. Right, Nixos module specific part of the API. Should have some links if we change those. Okay, but can we make a decision on this? I think we do not need the compatibility layer. I think it's fine. Don't need it.
Cool.
Cancel this one. John as well.
Sounds
Alex
good
as well.
to me.
And I think Robert is also
That's all of us.
nodding. Oh, well, yeah, that's one. Typing skills. Alex +1 and Robert +1. Okay. All right, sounds good. Let's write this down here later. So no compatibility layer. That's just a swap here. This. Did we also agree on this, I think, right? I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Is there...
Robert was not scared by my nightmare scenario, so I think we're ready to move on.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I think we can go. Also, I guess we can quickly merge this peer here, though. I just added kind of a numbers.nix file, which does some kind of evaluation supporting the RFC. So one of them is calculating how many, like looking at all the files where attributes in the top level are defined and kind of linking those back. So it shows you this many files occur in top level, all packages.nix, this many attributes are defined in Linux generic or something. There's only like 5 different files, but
could we
useful.
maybe
And then, yeah.
do a different name for the file? Like maybe like manifest.nix or like numbers. When I first saw that, I was like, oh, are we like implementing mod or, like a math function, like a floating point wrapper? Or
well, I don't want to bike shit over the name much.
No,
I feel manifest is. I'll write a do I have this written down in the file up top here? I think it's fine if you write what it's for.
Cool.
Like at the top.
Statistics.
Oh, it's like this is like a utility file. Yeah. Sorry.
I mean, yeah,
statistics
is actually
a check-in for. I thought this was like a new Nixpkgs
I do like
lib.
statistics. But yeah, whatever. I'll just merge it now. If I come across it the next time, I'll change the file name. Okay, and I also want to add stats for like the sharding still, so we have these numbers for how many directories we'll get. All right. Now something else that popped up which I want to discuss is this one. So example, the hello package, it contains both a default.nix file and a test.nix file. Default.nix moves to package fun.nix, but where should the test.nix go? So I'd say we might want to have like an unstructured kind of directory where we put these extra files. Robert here said yesterday that we can avoid these kind of conflicts with the naming tool, and that while that's true, I think I haven't replied this here, but I think the kind of structure in these unit directories, like unit hello, it would be nice to keep this structure kind of well defined and kind of a convention where everything that doesn't have like a very strict structure gets put into like an unstructured kind of file. This way, in the future, if we have a test.nix file which we want to use, or a module.nix file, we can be sure that none of the existing unit directories have such a module or a test file. And it's kind of a, I guess, a protected namespace where no other things can end up in.
So I guess then package would be a good name for a directory, right? Because it's about the
Package.
and we don't need to allow anything else.
So like you're suggesting to just, oh yeah, feel free to rejoin, John. So just have that be package, like PKG, essentially. And move everything under there. I guess that would work, yeah. I guess that's fine for me. I feel like in the future we might also have like, we might want to have shared files between different like types of components. Well, different types of like the module system. The module for a package might want to have a shared file with a package, like a version or something. And then I feel like something unstructured is something not specific for a package might fit better. Just like a directory of files without structure. But package would also work fine.
For now, it's all package related. If we have a need for shared files, we can call it shared or common. I think by having a wildcard directory for everything that we haven't decided yet, you just make a mess. Be better to keep track of what we need and give it a nice place in the directory.
All right, yeah, that's a fair argument. So I think the structure we give here might be like a kind of API in of itself. So right, we say PKG fun, which I get some echo here, but PKG fun is probably might stay there for like 10 years or more. Like we want these to stay consistent over time. And so I feel like it's good to decide on the name that we are sure is a good name for it. And if we have everything package related in a PKG file, I guess that's fine. Oh, we're down here. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if my summary there is accurate. Just feel free to change that if you.
Yeah.
Can check my understanding.
So we have shared package name test checks.
Yeah. So is the idea like we have existing files with like common names that we may want to like reserve for future use, like for example, like a module.nix or a test.nix, and so while we're moving stuff, moving the existing ones that maybe don't follow any standardized pattern.
Yeah, that sounds right. I'm just going to write here, Robert, let's put, or since for now we only have packages, let's use a pkg subdirectory for all extra package related files. PKG, is that the right name? We have pkg.next, which we might want to use for a non-function package. We have pkg fun for function one. I guess that's fine. I think that's okay. What about you, Alex? What do you think of this?
Let me think for a second. I gotta put on my tab completion thinking. What about spell out package, I guess, to avoid tab complete on the shorter, which is PKG. Package fun, you'll tab complete on package. Yeah, and if I'm doing an import, it might be if I'm doing dots, ./pkg, and I forget the .nix, I'll like end up trying to import default.nix from the subfolder. Not that that should ever happen, but I'm just thinking of how could this blow up or be misused.
Yeah, that makes me think that we could also have like pkg/fun.nix
or pfunk.nix. Let me just pull that one out again.
pfun.
pfunk package function, and then we can make our func the pfunk. Robert loves it. I can tell. Robert is on board with this. You know this is
very amused.
You know this is the correct choice.
But I mean, yeah, that's a good point. Like if we have like this would like pfunk, you also suggested, or pfunk, like this.
Yeah, maybe a K, but yeah, this is perfect. Pfunk. Yo, now we're talking. Now we're talking.
Oh wait, didn't you say that like a couple weeks ago with like a band that's called P-Funk?
Yeah, you thought you were done with this sales pitch, but it's coming back.
Oh my. All right. So Zia, what do you think? Like Robert, of like, because we essentially, I mean, having PKG fun,
yeah, I think
it's kind of the same as PKG/fun.
I think it makes sense, and I think we're also approaching the like full Nixpkgs/unit proposal, more or less. Well, we're going in that direction. Because that when you have PKG in the path convention, do you really need PKGs as well? Maybe not.
Yeah.
So
right,
I think
that's our.
It's the right direction, but might as well go one step further. But we agreed not to do it, so I'm not going to say anything more.
Sorry, I'm kind of catching up here. The test files are going to go in this directory too.
And just to clarify, I don't know if like the test example was like invented. I was just trying to generalize about like, let's say we had standardized file names, we have existing ones, and we don't want to clash with them.
It's mainly.
Oh, go ahead.
It's like currently, like the test is just an example, but it's any file that's also in the package directory. Test is just the example that hello happens to use. But in the future, we might destructure those a bit better and have a convention for test files.
So this is a way to, I guess, reserve.
But what uses the test file?
It's
right now. I don't even know what a test file is.
The
NixOS test?
It's
so here. This is in the hello package. It just does this.
How do those relate to the function args of the package fun? Or does it just depend? It's still ad hoc.
it's like, well, it doesn't depend on the function args at all, really. Like,
Well, this one doesn't. I actually know it. Yeah, I mean, it kind of does though, because the hello is being passed in. That hello has to come from somewhere.
oh yeah,
Wait,
I guess
yeah, and
here's
how's
the
it- Wait, how is this recursively depending on itself?
Yes.
That's what
Oh my
yes.
goodness
Oh, hello is
gracious.
the example that Robert changed with the new
Yeah.
function being allowed in make derivation. Maybe let's look at another, like, I know that, oh, what is it? There's a bunch of them. GNU make, I don't know. Sure, GNU make. Yeah, like these patches, for example, would also be something that should get moved into the package/directory then. Because these are used only and directly by the package fun function file. So it's kind of all files
Okay.
that get referenced by the
Oh, okay. So I guess is the idea
by
like,
this file.
you know, we might have in the future, we might have more than just the package definition here. And so we want to like organize those, like, let's say not that we would do this, but just as an example, if you were to merge a single directory with like a NixOS module and a package definition, you would want like individual subdirectories to organize the support files.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's,
I will say I am missing default.nix a little bit, because then it's very sort of clear like who owns what subdirectory. Like I'm not. There's great reasons why not to reintroduce it, but like if it was package-fun/default.nix, then it's sort of like this is the master Nix file for that directory, and then everything else in that directory is for its use and its use only.
It could
Like
be
if
PKG fun/PKG fun.nix, perhaps. That's maybe combining the best. So you're not using
Yeah.
but it's still a clear pattern.
yeah, I
like
mean,
this.
well,
PKG-fun.
they're both packaging fun.
I
I think if I were to go back to like the Nix team, I would say we should have a way that you can have like a default.nix for importing purposes that's not default.nix for running commands in that directory purposes.
They're going to tell you to use a flake. That's what that is.
I mean, probably.
I mean, we could define our own kind of convention. We could say unit.nix file. That's the file doing the unit combining or something. Although I don't think that is that something we need, because it's really that nothing, kind of something from outside will go through all these directories and auto import them and look at one specific file for each import. So NixOS would use a different file than like the packages. And so I don't think it makes sense to have like a single file doing all the file and directory specification. Unless we had like a versioning scheme in there, which is like, this is version 1 of the unit convention.
Well, we can just migrate things as we go, so I won't worry about versioning. It's not supposed to be infrastructure you use on your own packages outside Nix packages.
Yet, I think it would be cool. I mean, it kind of approaches flakes, like having a standardized way of specifying all kinds of different things.
That's
and
true.
that would
Well,
be
once
very,
when we reach that point, then we could do
Yeah,
versioning.
that's, I think,
But
future.
yeah. But so, I mean, we have proposals PKG fun and then /PKG fun, and then all of the other files are nested in there.
Wait, I think, okay. So I think one thing that might help me is like, if we could see an example layout of like an arbitrary project that would be like what is the imagined kind of set of files for, I guess GNU make was like a good example. It seemed like they've got those patch files.
Yeah, so like we'd have like pkgs unit and then GNU make, and then so previously, or yeah, let's do this. And then we have like a nesting under here. Nesting, do I do? Yeah, sure. And so we'd have pkg fun, and in pkg fun there's pkg fun.next, and the patches, like let's say foo.patch, and let's also add a test.next file. And then imported by pkg fun.next, and same for this one. So this is one idea, or let's say proposals. Another is to do this with pkg and then have pkg fun up here. Kind of like this. This is a bit more annoying because this then means we have to update relative references in the pkg fun, because now they're nested one directory below. Here we don't have to do that.
I kind of feel like it's just fine to do unit /name /pkg fun until we're putting other things in there. Right now, this is like looking ahead extra directories in direction, and we just don't need it yet.
You mean to just like not bother with this and have
yeah, the original thing.
This.
Yeah, and like, if and when we have the NixOS stuff in there or something, and if that stuff does need to refer to the patch files, which seems likely, then we'll move stuff around. But like a big advantage of regularity should be that it's easier to shuffle things as new needs arise, and so we don't have to, be really trying to anticipate every future need.
Yeah, I would like for this to kind of, well, hopefully eventually it will become kind of a standardized thing people use outside of Nix packages as well.
Yeah,
and
I'm not super against the other alternatives, but I just, it'll incubate in Nix packages a bit before we want to enshrine it as something more stable that other things use. And so I'm just always for taking advantage of that incubation period.
Incubate in Nix packages before making before making it a more standardized API or convention. Usable. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that is fine. I mean, then, so I'm always kind of, I just want to bring up versioning again. We don't need to have any versioning right now, but I feel like in the future, add versioning. So you don't need versioning because you can, if you don't have a versioning file that represents the first version, but yeah, in the future we might have like a, I don't know, .unit version or something, which then can change the format, and then we might do like the package nesting then, something like that. And so I guess it's fine like this. We haven't established this as a public use as a public interface, and so well, let's just do that for now. It's the simplest for Nix packages right now. All right, I don't hear any complaints anymore, so I guess let's just do this for now. So Alex, sound good?
Yeah.
All right, Robert as well, I think.
Yeah, I like I said in the comment, yeah,
Oh yeah.
keep it simple. Renaming is easy. Or it should be.
And John, right as well, I think. Yeah, and I guess, yeah, let's do that. That sounds good. All right. Okay, then we have this here addressed. Do we have anything else that we can even discuss? So there's just some things about measuring performance. Nothing important. Fixed references. I have something small. And this oh yeah, by the way, to do sharding or not to do sharding, Robert, you weren't there last time, but I think we all agreed to do sharding. And I think, does it also sound good to you?
Yeah, I think we were moving in that direction. And it's the lesser evil, it seems. So
yeah, we should definitely get some benchmarks done to see what the impact of that is. And even if we have this one level sharding, it could still be, I feel like a 2-level sharding would still be better performance wise, but probably not worth it. This one level is fairly simple.
Matter because we're scanning, we're scanning all directories anyway. Whether that's 1 or 2 levels, it's a similar amount of inodes. So
well, it's
major differences.
It's more about the Git impact, because Git has its trees that need to be hashed, and the larger directories you have, the bigger the tree objects become. And so every small update too, if you have a flat directory, every small update needs to write like a 1 megabyte file or something like that.
Yeah, and it dips those to minimize the storage for it.
Yeah. So there's some.
Yeah, Git might notice.
Yeah, but we'll do some benchmarks, and then I think 1-level sharding should be fine.
Yeah.
Last thing I believe in this PR. So I don't want to write a tool to update relative file references, because that's just kind of it's I feel like really tricky to get that right. And so in here, what I did is to this here. So we move all attributes that are defined with a path, such that all transitively referenced paths from the default Nix file in the path. So this means all of these patch files and all of these test.nix files and so on. All of these files need to be under the same directory of path. This means we can easily move these files around and don't need to update their references. And they aren't referenced from paths outside of this path directory. And this kind of means we don't need to update any references, essentially. You have like essentially a strict split between files inside the package and files outside the package, and there's no way in and no way out. That's more or less what these two conditions try to express. And I think this can probably somewhat easily be checked. And by doing this, we avoid all of these hard cases where we have like a shared directory between 2 packages. So if we have like auto, what was it? We had like a bunch of those, like auto make or something, which has some shared files. And these shared files are referenced from 2 attributes here. And so this means that the packages automake couldn't be moved because they have these 2 references.
So is like, I guess if you were to summarize this, is the idea like you can't use ... when you're referring to
That's part of it, yeah. Not dot dots, and you can't use. So actually, if we go to autocalled, no, autocalling, in here, I made like some fixes here. So these are the fixes I want to avoid essentially. So in here, automake, yes, 11.x, I had to make this weird automake transition where I moved the shared files into an automake directory, which I created.
Do we have an example of this without the multiple versions? Because I think we talked about let's just skip stuff with multiple versions. I still feel quite strongly
this is the
about
condition that skips the multiple versions in a kind of generic way that makes sense. We essentially, so this won't be needed if we do these transitions, because in here we need to update these references. In here I have there's like this here. So this is a case where the Linux package somehow, or tooling, does like a libidn import, and then it like references a path in the libidn in here. And because there's this reference, we'd have to update this reference when we move libidn. That's so the condition I'm saying, giving there essentially is that if a package is being referenced like this, we don't move it for now. We just don't move libidn. And so we don't need to update this reference for now.
Okay. So you're not saying about writing things with like more absolute paths or anything, just avoiding the initial migration.
Yes, it's essentially all Nix code should stay the same, and we don't need to update any references. And if we'd have to update references, we don't move those.
Okay.
I guess honestly, I should like write this like that in the PR. Is
it allowable to move those by hand?
I think so, yeah. If someone did like a refactoring of here manually to not have that referenced anymore, yeah. But that's so like I essentially want to have an automatic tool that I can run on Nix packages, and it's going to do all of these safe transitions without having to manually change, or without having to change any Nix files at all.
Okay.
And then, yeah, I avoid having to do these manual fixes. I haven't written the tooling though, but I feel like it's fairly
Well,
fairly non-controversial.
I'm all for carving off less for the first step. That's always a good idea.
Yeah, I'm gonna rewrite this though. It's where is it? I'm gonna rewrite this though. Also, the nesting here got rendered wrong on GitHub. So this is more of an implementation detail, how exactly these safe paths get determined. But what it represents is that we only move files so that we don't need to update any references. That's then much clearer. Okay. But other than that, I don't think there's anything we have to discuss. Yeah, all of these issues are like not really major, or we can't discuss them. Just need to do something smaller or bigger. Does anybody have any other concerns about this? Because otherwise, like I feel like we're fairly close to actually opening the RFC in the RFC repository and having it discussed there.
Yeah, so I'm really not excited about the hacky approach to doing the renames. It's inventing more rules rather than just doing it.
Do you mean the thing I just talked about?
I guess you can make it work, by inventing rules for like what are the limitations of our hack. I mean, sure, and you're free to do so because I'm not up yet, but I think to me it's just a waste. It's not a hard problem to change the relative paths in an X expression. So why don't we write a tool that just does that?
I think
it seems like
all of these relative
No.
paths are kind of indicative of some like boundary violation. Actually, maybe that's so. Like
Yeah.
like this
So,
here,
like-
why should we? Yeah, or go ahead.
Should those be? Yeah. And so, like, I actually wrote this in the note, and now that I'm hearing this, maybe I shouldn't have written it in the notes, but I had written that like anything that's using a dot really should have been a function argument. Was what I thought the rationale was. But yeah, like in that, and like especially that Linux case, that it's pointing directly to libidn and not referring to libidn from like as being an argument, is, I would agree, is like a violation. But yeah, I mean, I also do think that stuff is like maybe kind of out of scope from the perspective of like a first pass of handing this stuff automatically. Like those are ones that you want to go in by hand later and fix.
I mean, I sort of feel like the RFC doesn't need to list what the limitations and the tools are.
Yeah.
RFC just says what we're trying to do, and that there will be tooling, and you know, it's left at like it's not specified. You know, what parts will be done by tooling eventually, what parts will be done manually. I mean, the only like. I guess the real cardinal rule is like if you move something, you should fix PRs that are like caught in the old state, if there's many of them. If you mass remove things, the only way to actually do that requirement is to have some sort of tooling, because it's infeasible to like quadratically manually move a bunch of things in a bunch of different Git revisions. But if you're moving one-off files by hand, then I suppose you could manually update the PRs too. That's more linear or thin rectangle, quadratic. So yeah, I mean, I kind of agree. Like, I think we should be able to do relative paths, but I don't want to really hold up this RFC on anything. So as long as we're not writing it in stone and my name is not next to like relative paths are hard or something, then no harm, no foul.
Yeah, I think also so if I need to write a tool to detect which files are being referenced by which other files in like any case, which is sounds kind of painful, but
it is
once
painful for sure. Yeah,
we can have an automatic tooling that in the first pass doesn't handle these violations of like scoping and stuff, but in another case we can also just output error messages or warnings saying that this libidn package is being referenced by this Linux package. This is why it's not being moved. You need to fix that reference. Then the automatic tooling can take care of that. And honestly, we could even automate this. Like we could set up CI that runs the tooling every week or something, and gives a warning for all of the packages, and then people can fairly easily fix those over time. Yeah,
I mean, like, I know, like, you don't want to write lazy tools in general because your original plan was to do the like perfect high quality Arnix thing, Sylvan. So like, I'm quite confident as we discover new problems that impede our less sophisticated tools, we'll be motivated to write more sophisticated tools.
Yeah, you got to have something to build on though. Like I think having a first draft, even if it's, I mean, having a draft of this tool with whatever limitations it may have, just so we've got something that we know, okay, how can we improve this from where it's at now, is nicer than kind of like in abstract talking about. I guess I don't know. Having something concrete is helpful.
Yeah. My only somewhat related to that. So if the tool change over time, there is a question of should the new versions of tools be able to have done the prior renames. I don't know if this is important, if we have to resurrect old PRs that predate stuff. But
I don't think. Well, I think that's not a question we need to address right now. Like that comes from the evolution of the tool once we set it out there, or the evolution of this.
Well,
RFC.
I guess it's like I mean, imagine if we found a tool that had these limitations, and then we made a new, better tool, but they actually differed in some of their behavior. And then people like try to run the new tool on the old tree because they just want to use the most up-to-date version of the tool. And then there's like weird conflicts and things. So I guess for me the like we don't want to worry about future problems, but we do have to like meta worry about future problems.
Well, yeah, like I think this is maybe the difference between like setting a spec. Like it's good that we're drafting this out of like what the specification is supposed to be for how this stuff is supposed to be laid out, because that does kind of future-proof any of that tooling with whatever limitations it may have.
I feel like there's something like a versioning scheme, or like even just reserving some file name to not exist, or reserving some file name for future use, so we can implement a versioning scheme where like the tooling, so we specify version. This is version 0 of the unit file layout, and this tool implements version 0, and we can write another tool which implements version 1 and can transition from version 0 to version 1. And then it writes this unit version file or something like that.
Well, let's like, so putting the version in the output means we have version input for the auto calling functionality. But the old PRs tooling things, that version doesn't need to be stored anywhere. That would be like a CLI argument. What version do you want to rename to? Like, I think we do actually want everything in a package set to be the same version of the schema. But but that's if you're migrating old trees, then you may want to go to different versions.
Oh, so that's got it. I understand what universion is. It's like a stamp file indicating the schema. Yeah.
Yes.
Got it.
I mean, if it goes in like the the shard directory or something versus a specific unit, then that maybe make more
like
sense. But
packages unit version or something, or structure version or something like that.
Yeah, that seems like a sane idea. Because then if you just let's say you pull an arbitrary check out of Nixpkgs, and maybe off the top of your head you don't know what the schema version is, it's sitting there.
It's more for future proofing, I think, once we have like different versions. But I think like since this is only a Nixpkgs thing for now, not like some like we can make tree-wide changes to this. We don't need to be bothered with like other repositories and people that might use the tooling other than us. It's really just the tooling is for Nixpkgs, and anything else isn't supported, we can say, for now. And as soon as we might expand this, we might need a unit version thing. Because
got it, yeah. Okay, but and I do agree that like the tooling itself should not be like really in the PR. I mean, like you could mention it in considerations or something to say like, oh, this sounds hard, right? Well, we're gonna make a tool, but
well, what is the promise for existing PRs? I think that I don't want to commit us to too much stuff, and maybe before I was, but I think something has to be said. Because if we move a bunch of things right now, we just make a bunch of conflicts in all open PRs, and we don't.
I think
that has to be acknowledged in the RFC. I think.
Yeah, and I think that's maybe like considerations, but having a like maybe making a commitment to say like, all right, we know the old PRs are all going to blow up, so
I think actually it's somewhat easy to fix this, because this tooling can be essentially used to rewrite history. Like you can say, I mean, let's Git, there's like run on each
filter
commit
branch.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, what is it called?
Git filter branch.
Oh yeah, filter branch. We can essentially run it on the entire, on all files. And since it uses kind of a standardized structure and it is idempotent, it doesn't make changes after you run it once. I feel like this might just work. And this could, let's see. I think that might work. I'm honestly not entirely sure, but We should make it very, very like automatic and like safe, and so this shouldn't be a problem.
If you use get merges, I don't think you need filter branch. If you do filter branch, you may need rebase. I don't know if you can rebase and filter branch at the same time, even though that would make sense.
Well, filter branch does a rebase, right?
Well, like, can you change what you're rebasing on? Or is it always like rewrite everything as the first command has the same parent as before? It'd be a silly limitation, but you never know with Git commands. Sometimes they have silly limitations.
But okay, I think so. Like the problem with old PRs being kind of conflict, I think it's not going to be a huge problem. We should probably look at this a bit closer, but I don't think we need to worry about that too much.
So we're saying we're like, I don't think we need to offer how. We need to offer what. So you're saying some PRs will have conflicts, but it won't be too bad at first, and we can just manually fix them.
Yeah.
Should we should dry run that? Like,
yeah.
Try one of those out, because that's like the difficulty of doing that manually could be make or break for this. Like, if this turns out to be more difficult than we estimate, like that could be a real nightmare.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that like, oh, this is going to be harder, but like, I don't know. I've overpromised on stuff before.
That's a great point. So we can essentially dry run this by doing the how should we do this? Can we like clone the repository or something?
I think Robert can cook up the most difficult case PR and send it, and we got to play red team, blue team, and try to cook up the most pathological PR.
I guess we could just like do a change in our own Nixpkgs branch and then copy some PRs from Nixpkgs over. Probably even set up like a script for that.
Who did the stand-of lib thing? The stand-of lib no longer exists. It's just lib.
Oh yeah.
Whoever that was, we should ask them about how it went with PR conflicts and things.
Not sure how much that has the same kind of problem. I guess a little bit, yeah.
Well, I tried to send something that was like done over time, and
I guess it's like all PRs that. I guess it's all PRs that do tree-wide changes have run into similar problems.
Well, even we're doing a tree-wide change, so people open PRs on packages we happen to move, even if they're not tree-wide, can be impacted by our tree-wide.
Yeah.
I'm hoping the fact that we're not initially editing the contents of files much, we're just moving them per the relatives past discussion, may mean that
that's
can actually deal with this stuff pretty well. But I just don't know.
And if we were to do this compatibility symlinks, that would give a lot of like Git conflicts. But I think if you just rename, Git might actually be fine.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no symlinks is better for conflicts.
And no file changes are great for not triggering merge conflicts. Lots of PRs. But I think that's great. We are out of time for today. I'm going to at least stop the recording. But I think we have reached pretty much the end of most discussions here, and we are fairly sure about stuff. I would be nice if we could like allocate a little bit of things to do. Tom isn't here, unfortunately. He said he could test some Git performance stuff. About the tooling to do these references, would anybody be interested in like kind of pair coding on this bit and trying to figure it out?
Yeah. I know I've got some other. I got stuff I'm working on right now, but this I would be happy to.
All right, I think
I'll be less busy in a bit.
In a bit is like a
Intentionally
day.
vague.
Or...
No, like a week or so. I think I'm finally over the hump on some things. So
All right, but yeah, I guess I'll ping the channel, or I said this for some weeks now. When I do work, have kind of forgot about it every time, but I'll try to.